I'm very excited today to have Laureen Summers, who is currently the director of the Project on Science, Technology, and Disabilities with the American Association for the Advancement of Science. And Laureen, could you tell us a little bit about what you do at AAAS?
Yes, and thank you very much, Ted, for having me and doing this with me. I am the project director of our signature program, Entry Point, of the Project on Science, Technology, and Disability. Entry Point is an internship program for undergraduate and graduate students with disabilities majoring in the STEM, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics areas. We collaborate with companies and university programs who are interested in bringing in students with disabilities to participate in their internships. So Entry Point recruits, screens, and we first students for summer placement. We also follow up to see if the students complete their education and go into a STEM career. In addition to Entry Point, I am doing advocacy to try to get other AAAS programs involved in including individuals with disabilities in their program.
That sounds very interesting because it seems like the overall mission of your project is for greater inclusion of persons with disabilities in the STEM fields, as you said. So it sounds like Entry Point is really your flagship program. That's where you put most of your focus. When was the Entry Point program created at AAAS?
It was created in 1996. It began after an NSF-funded project on the recruitment and retention of engineers with disabilities showed that STEM students with outstanding skills and GPAs were not getting hired. We assumed and realized that internships that showcased a student's skills and interests could be an entry point, if you will, into a career and into the continuation of their interest in STEM. It would showcase to potential employers what people with disabilities can really do.
So the vision of the Entry Point program then, when it was first created, was kind of a continuation of a grant that from the National Science Foundation for greater inclusion of, as you said, outstanding students with well, outstanding academic students in STEM fields. So what is the overall vision? What are the expectations of these interns for example, after they've experienced the entry point program, they've had their summer internship, what is the overall expectation that would demonstrate success of the entry point program?
The overall expectation, Ted, is that they would continue their education and go into a STEM career, becoming a scientist or an engineer. Our overall goal is to increase the diversity and inclusion of the scientific professional workforce by advocating and showing that scientists with disabilities have as much to contribute as anyone else.
And that seems to fall directly in line with the motivation and focus of this workshop, Liberate 21 workshop that they're working with right now. So I guess I have another question with respect to diversity and inclusion, because we say that a lot, but what does that mean to you?
Well, diversity is often expressed as thinking about race, class, sexual orientation, gender identity, etc. And I always say, I'm tired as a person with a disability being the etc. I think that diversity and inclusion means building relationships with all kinds of people and seeing exactly how they can fit into every program, every committee meeting, every venue where many voices should be heard and many ideas should be expressed.
I think in this audience of the workshop, I think you'll find about 100% of the audience is in agreement with you with respect to your definition of inclusion and your vision of inclusion. So I want to get back to the entry point program, and with the interns and employers, it seems like, and again, you've got 25 years of experience with this program since 1996, that the lessons learned, what are some of the experiences that the interns and the employers actually have relative to their expectations going in? Could you speak on that a little bit?
Yes, in the very beginning of the program, I think many employers were still very hesitant and have low expectations of what disabled students could do, even though the resumes and transcripts and recommendations show the high caliber of student. This goes on today as well, but what we've tried to do is build relationships not only with the student, but in our case, the internship coordinator, to talk about expectations, major requirements, and how their company viewed disabled individuals. It's a hard process. It's not easy even today, but our first partner was NASA, we had them for 20 years, and they were very welcoming, very open, very willing to have students. We placed over 400 students over that 20-year period. Some of them work at NASA. Some have gone on to other companies. Many have masters and PhDs, and I always think it's a relationship between people that provides the real support and encouragement. The relationship with the employer, with the supervisor, and with a team of people who are working together. I really think this can make the success or failure of a person.
Yeah, I think we've all experienced that. So when you talk about success, can you give an example of a success story of one of your interns that might really stand out, and what were some of the challenges that intern might have anticipated, and just basically, how did they get through the internship, and what are they doing today?
My favorite story is with an intern we had early on. He had cerebral palsy, a little bit more involved than I am. He needed some assistance. He used a wheelchair. He interned at NASA, figured out how to use a head pointer to manipulate the keyboard. He did 2 internships at NASA, went on to Boeing in Seattle to design engine mounts. And this was a person with difficult speech patterns, like I have, maybe a little more, but he just found the support to succeed. And the challenge was getting away from his home and his parents. And when he lived in Illinois, he interned at Goddard. When he went to Kennedy Space Center, the story was he just took an attendant, got in a van, and left Illinois. So it was real persistence. The last I heard, he built himself an accessible 2-story home. Another student is completely blind. Went to NASA, had a great mentor. She was involved in a project on being able to hear the stars using, I think it's sonic modification. And her mentor helped her get to Scotland for her graduate program. She worked in Africa at their science observatory, and she's a very competent STEM professional.
Wow, it sounds like Entry Point was really opening the doors for those students, and as you said, for hundreds of more students that have gone through the Entry Point program.
We do a follow-up, and I'm very nosy, so I want to know what happens to everybody, and it's very rewarding to finding stories.
Right. Well, I think our time is almost up. Do you have anything else to add? I mean, it sounds like the entry point for just about every metric has been very, very successful. And it sounds like that the technology the students have been using in being successful in these internship environments, a lot of it has either been generated by the intern themselves or by collaboration between the intern and the employer, which again is another focus of this workshop that we're working on currently for the National Science Foundation. So do you have any follow up on this, or just to basically summarize what we've talked about?
Well, I want to say that students develop coping skills. They are able to test old and new technologies to see what works best for them. They find other accommodations that help them build towards success, and all that combined with their life experience and their relationships really contribute to their creativity and innovation in any science field.
Well, thank you so much for taking time out for this interview. I really appreciate it. And I'm sure that the people that have a chance to review this will really value the insight that you have and the work that you've done in order to really facilitate greater inclusion of persons with disabilities in all areas of STEM. So we're going to wrap it up now. And I want to thank the audience for listening to me interview Laureen Summers at the American Association for the Advancement of Science. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ted.